Welcome to Crowning Connections with Rob Clemons. I am very excited today. It is January 31st, also known as National Hot Chocolate Day. So I got some real surprises today. I'm super pumped about my guest on the show today. I want to talk to the business owners out there, people who are, if you're in sales, if you're in business, if you're a business owner, and you're looking for something to differentiate yourself, if you're looking for that angle that makes you special, I think this is a great show today because we have a couple of great guest speakers here. I'm pleased to say I have John Cenac from Equity Builders Roofing. He's in sales with them and also NTS. John, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Awesome. And I got my good buddy here, Mark Godaire from Reeva Impact.
I was waiting for when I get my chance with you.
I was kind of like, I'm going to give Mark a little play here too. What happened. So guys, before we get started, normally I like to get right to business, but we got more important things to do. It is National Hot Chocolate Day. So I want to talk a little bit about hot chocolate and how do we make our hot chocolate properly. So we've got all the accoutrement, if you will, to make
Can you spell that, please?
No, I cannot. I'm not even sure if I said it right, to be honest with you. I'm not even sure it was the right word, but it sounded good at the time. So anyway, we're going to do a little hot chocolate. We got some whipped cream over here. We got some Hershey's, just in case you're not getting enough chocolatey goodness. We do have marshmallows. Fellas, do you have a preference? Any secrets as to how to do this properly?
Look, y'all, I think you got to start we got to figure out what the base is like, right?
Yeah.
Without understanding what we're working with
Foundation.
here, right?
Now, if you're a business owner, I want you to start taking notes. You got to see what your foundation looks like first before you make improvements.
Absolutely, right?
All right,
so start here and see what we need to do to make this more each our own.
Ooh, it's pretty good. That's pretty good right off the jump.
I tell you what.
A little watery.
It is a little watery, but I'm seeing we may just need to stir this. But on a cold January or coming into February day here in the Carolinas, that little Dunkin Donuts hot chocolate would warm you up right quick.
I'm going to tell you, this is sometimes what you need. Now Godaire, he said this is a little watery, so I'm assuming you're gonna need some of this.
I'm a sweet tooth, man.
Well, you are.
I'm a sweet tooth, and I'm going to need a little bit of this, and I'm going to get to what I need the most. Let me get a little bit more chocolate.
Like the way you dumped that over, that wasn't like a little bit of chocolate right there.
John, a little watery on your side?
I don't know. Sometimes you got to just mix things up. We're just going to try and mix things up first with this peppermint stick spoon.
Peppermint stick spoons. It's
Let's see if we get a little more out of it.
Here's the thing that happens, guys. So I have a marketing team. You give them a couple of lattes in the morning, and they just go insane. They start making stuff happen. I don't even know what to do. All right, so I'm going to say I'm more of a 3 marshmallow guy. I want to go crazy with this thing. Now, Mark, you did tell me a story. You said you were doing some hot chocolate with your son the other day.
Not while I sip, okay?
Yeah, we don't want to ruin it.
Let him get that down first, okay?
Yeah, actually, it's funny that you bring this up because my son, who's almost 4 now, and we're just getting into, obviously, sweets. I try to build a healthy foundation for him. I'm sure all your parents do, right?
For sure.
So we started to delve into some s'mores and hot chocolate. And when his favorite part of the hot chocolate, I kind of went to the bathroom. I came back, and John, did you get your marshmallows?
I'm about ready to dive into them.
Get your share because
I've got the chocolate. I got the chocolate right where I need it.
You got okay.
You're probably not going to have much more after. No. So I like it like my son. Okay. So I just put it like that. And this is how he likes it, so this is how I like it.
This is about 50% marshmallow, 50% hot chocolate. This may be National Marshmallow Day by the time this is over. Yeah, I got you. All right, perfect. Well, this is all right. Now let's see how we are with our improvements, though. So I just did a little whipped cream, a little bit of
no marsh.
No. Well, a couple of marsh. Okay. Couple of marsh. Are we like doing shorthand for marshmallows now? A couple of marsh. It sound like pros here,
I'm going to give you the two levels of methodology used here. Mark went with let me just go ahead and fire full force on the marshmallows and the chocolate syrup, like committed to them 100%, where I was like, I'm going to ease in about a little more chocolate and find the right mix. He was just like, nope. I'm committed to chocolate. We're going to get this thing loaded. I'm committed to marshmallows. We're going to get this thing loaded, and boom. That was his strategy.
They call him Express for a reason, man. He's just like you don't have any time for this warming up stuff. Let's get to it,
I'm glad that's centered around hot chocolate. So perfect.
Awesome. Well, so we can enjoy this deliciousness while we talk, but let's talk a little bit about some business here. Mark, with the Reeva, the training, you're trying to get people better all the time, and you first mentioned John coming down and talking, and I was just pumped, man, because we've been following what you do for a long time, John. Amazing program. If you would tell us though, before we jump into NTS and all that good stuff, let's talk a little bit about your background. How did you get here in the first place?
I took a flight.
Oh yeah. Let's
Outside of
start
that-
from immediately within the last hour. How did you get here? No.
Roofing. You hear the entrance to roofing stories, and they're always. So let's flip that. Not many of them start with the desired career path as a small child to be a roofer. So a lot of us fall into it. And I found myself in that position where I just couldn't afford bills anymore. I had someone promising sky high money and salary and commissions and unlimited potential. And I finally made the switch. And I saw that opportunity when I did get into it. Now, 8 years ago when I saw that opportunity and took it, I didn't see all the service behind it, but that quickly followed. And that really, to me, is what's kept me in this industry, kept me in this business, is just that the service elements that come along with it. And yes, obviously there's a financial element that can be beneficial. Didn't happen with that first organization I was with. I felt like from a mix of me learning and how their system was set, that it was never going to meet what I saw was that, all this endless potential and stuff. But that's navigating me to where I'm at now. So I take every little step along the way as something that happened for me, which has put me where I'm at now. So that's my short recap. But yeah, I needed to borrow like $1,500 from my brother to pay my bills and realized that I couldn't live life like this anymore. And I fell into roofing.
That's an awesome story, because a lot of times when we have new employees coming through Monarch Roofing, for example, I do what I call my crown training with them. And I always start off with, no matter who's in the room, I always say, who wanted to be a roofer when you're growing up? And I start with that. But the message here is that it doesn't matter where you started in life, what your aspirations were. You got to take your opportunities one at a time. And we've shown it can be a great career for people. And, Mark, I know you went to Coastal Carolina. Shout out, a couple of coastal grads here. Yeah. So, yourself, what brought you into the industry?
Martin Pettigrew. And have you worked for any other company besides the company that you work now, John?
Yes, I've worked for 3 different roofing companies.
So that gives you a
four,
little bit of
actually,
idea.
but
4 different roofing companies. So you've had
three
a chance.
with decent time frame. Yes.
Okay, so you've had a chance to kind of compare and
Yep.
contrast different companies.
Absolutely.
And that's awesome. Now, I've only worked with Monarch Roofing, right? And Martin Pettigrew recruited me in 2016 out of the service industry. I graduated college, but found myself in the service industry for about 8 years. I was a general manager for a sushi restaurant. Now, me and John talked a little bit earlier. Man, that was the best foundation I could have ever had for A, sales, and B, coming into roofing sales. And there's for multiple reasons, because Martin runs Monarch very similar to like the service industry, and it's taking care of the people that you work with and taking care of your customers, right? And it's like the basis of all of what you guys do, and especially you still do as a general manager, of course, here. But got into roofing 2016, didn't have a lick of roofing sales or roofing knowledge at all, but I did have that service industry background, and I felt like I could talk to anybody. And that's kind of what I do now. When I train, we recruit from service industry, because I think it's still one of the big hot spots of where to recruit. And B, I try to push salesmen to be happy and try to make sure that they're taking care of the 2 things that are most important. A, your employees around you, and then your customer base. So that's kind of where I come from. Education, I graduated Coastal Carolina education. So that's where I get the passion to actually teach people. And then fell into roofing and kind of studied a ton and tried to personal develop into what I am today. And it's just trying to make people happy, better salesmen in the roofing industry.
It's powerful, and if you can find something that people feel fulfillment in doing, whatever that happens to be, then that's a great place to start. So definitely appreciate that feedback. One thing I saw about John when I was doing a little bit of reading on you is I see you were actually into dog training at some point too.
Gosh, yes. Yes. And no, that's a great thing that happened in my life. And it too brought some burdens and some challenges, but I still think to this day that wolf is like one of the most fascinating creatures in the animal kingdom. A lot of my study and knowledge and basis on dog training was centered around them being Canis lupus familiaris, which is domestic form of the gray wolf. And I loved that. I still to this day have a huge heart for it. My dad was a scout dog trainer in Vietnam. So our tiny little Maltese growing up was like the most incredibly trained dog that when I was a child and I would go to people's houses and I would see their dogs just like berserk, I would think, what's wrong with that dog? Because the only thing we ever had in our house was this well-behaved dog. So I did that, and it actually taught me a lot of disciplines, a lot of some very basic, simple concepts that I utilize even today. Like one thing that we taught pet owners, dog owners when we were working with dogs was it goes right down the leash, right? So if you're frustrated, it's time to stop. Don't work on training. You can't let that frustration go down the leash. And I kind of use that concept in a day-to-day work life, right? Like you can't project your frustrations into what you're doing because it does shine through, and you find yourself not performing at the level you should perform, not doing what you should be doing, or not completing the tasks the best way it can be completed or to its maximum. And I even do that in just communication when, like when you interact with homeowners in roofing, when you interact with adjusters in roofing, you got to put all that frustration away and know how to go out. So there's so many core concepts that I utilize from the time I train dogs that are applicable to what I still do today. Loved it.
That's almost like, honestly, I love that you said that, because it's almost like a training seminar waiting to happen, right? Because you talk about dogs, training a dog, consistency, right? You got to do it the same way, the same time every time, and you can get a dog to do the certain things. And so, sometimes when I'm talking to my trainees just coming into the company, I talk to them and I hope they take it the right way, but I'm like, look, I can train 2 dogs, totally different types of dogs, totally different attitudes, personalities, but they both at the end of the day know. I look at my 2 dogs in the morning, when I wake up, okay, we're going to eat our food. We're going out to the potty. We're going out to do this. And if you can train dogs to do it, obviously your employees with consistency can learn the same way. And we all need that. So I think there's a lot of really interesting, things that you can parallel.
Your routine. And you're a big dog guy.
Oh, man. I love them. Hey, look, I love my dogs, except for they're like 180 pounds worth of beef. And this morning, these 2 jokers see a deer run across the road. But the deer, normally a deer will just run off and you're like, oh, okay, well, we're good. This deer just ran down the road. And so I'm like, doing the whole thing where you're running down the road with them. And I got a dog trainer in front of me, so I'm kind of embarrassed now. But then I was like, hey guys, stop. I got him back. Don't look down on me too hard. He's looking at me like, oh, disgusting.
It's all right. Something's got to drive the need for training. So.
right. Pain points. You're talking about pain points earlier, John.
No one ever walked into my office for training. They're like, look, my dog's great. Can you train
They're
it?
perfect.
Right?
Hey, listen, and also if you can train a Maltese, I mean, like usually you're thinking like a Doberman, German Shepherd. You had a Maltese trained to the T. That's pretty impressive.
Right, but even let's take roofing sales. You don't hire the exact same person to go sell in roofing.
Exactly.
There's a lot of different personalities, and I know that you and your team are big on understanding the personalities of individuals that work for you and that you're interacting with, and who's on your team. So that's an interesting concept when you go and apply that okay, who am I selling to? Who am I hiring here to perform this job? It's not just one personality that I can go out and sell. They just sell utilizing different strategies. The core concept of training the dog is a great core concept. Yeah, there's intricacies in understanding about each one of those breeds and the little details that apply to each one of them, and why one dog pulls you and wants to keep you in, and one dog wants to bark and keep you out, and just various little details, sure, but the core concepts apply. But you could have 2 different breeds, 2 different styles, 2 different types in your home, just like you have multiple styles in your selling staff and multiple personalities on your team, both out on the customer service side, out on the operations side, and behind the scenes on the office side of things. So big believer in that.
Oh, yeah. Awesome stuff. Well, let's talk a little bit about something that you did that you helped found, obviously, in the NTS program.
Sure.
I know you're going to talk to some of the trainees over at Reeva today, and super glad to have you on to do that. But if you could, tell us how did this thing start, and what's the core of the program?
Sure. Can I back up a minute and say how important it is to work for the right person, like just from a work standpoint? Because you asked how many, have I worked for the same roofing company? And that I haven't. I've transitioned, and the roofing company I work for now, Equity Builders, Doug has been a very supportive owner of what is it that you need, and what is it that you want, and what are your goals? And it's allowed me time and capacity to go take on other things. And I think that that's valuable, whether you are just focused on one thing, that you're working for the right person. And if you're not, like, legitimately, you need to evaluate that. Is it really worth the money that you're making, or should you find what it means to work for the right person? So I work for the right person, and I truly enjoy that. Okay. Now, what that's let me do is we created a Facebook community called Name That Shingle, which started as a community just so people could have let's call it a safe place to put shingles up there, because anybody who's been on different roofing pages, while the community can help, there's also a lot of sarcasm and jokes and even some crude comments that come along when some person that's 3 weeks into the industry just wants to know what something is, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that we should support that desire for people to grow, so we created a community for it. In the background, we created a shingle reporting service where people could send in samples of shingles, and our team identifies it. And sends back a report with all the relevant documents that are available to us at the time from the manufacturer, installation instructions, letters about when it was made, when it was discontinued, why you can or cannot mix it, things like that, all go out with that report. So we created a reporting system that was a unique reporting system in the market, because up until ours, there was really only one style of reporting. So not only did we want to introduce competition, because I'm a big believer in competition, we wanted to introduce something different, back to pain points. What was the thing missing, or where was there opportunity for more detail? One person's going to look at it as missing. One person's going to look at it as opportunity. We looked at it as opportunity. And now we've created NTS, which is the abbreviated company name. Does not stand for Name That Shingle. That's the confusing part for many people. Name That Shingle is the Facebook community, but NTS, which identifies those surfaces on the roof. And it's been massively impactful for the industry so far.
Tell me about, so you're talking about roofers, and we got roofers who are listening today who want to pick up some idea of how to use this, right?
Sure.
So how can it make a difference in your business to be able to use Name That Shingle?
Sure.
Give me the most common application.
Most common application is you are either evaluating whether you should or should not repair that roof, or the insurance company is evaluating whether you should or should not repair that roof. Because there are situations where home sales going on and they just need a new roof, or they're asking for repairs. There's a misconception that the reports are only utilized within insurance claims, and that's not accurate. There's other times that you may need to evaluate, hey, in this transactional phase, can we repair this roof, or do we have to replace it, or are there certain things we should consider? But our reporting is designed to help settle that dispute, no matter who the dispute's between, to give you some information to be able to say, all right, here's when the product, we've positively identified the product. Is it available anymore? And if it is available, is it compatible with the current products? And if it's not available, is it compatible with the current products? Mm-hmm. Because that compatibility feature is one of the most crucial points. All too many times we see repairs that take place. I know this from my roofing career. I would see repairs that just never should have been done. Blended products, never sealed, caused further leaks, caused further problems. And I looked at those problems and my heart just ached for the homeowner. I tell people all the time, sell with an act of service. And I thought they didn't focus on what the service that actually was needed. They were worried to go tell a homeowner, hey, this is going to be $15,000, not $1,500. Mm-hmm. And instead of having that honest conversation, they performed an improper repair. But if the homeowner could look at a report and have all the information and say, okay, this isn't coming from my roofer. This is an unbiased opinion. This is a third party, and I can buy into this and understand why this is $15,000 and not $1,500. That's basically a quick recap of it.
Man, that's amazing. I love that. So Mark, and I'm gonna jump to you real quick. I mean, think about this service and how it would have changed your game, even 2 years ago.
And it's crazy, John. And it's something that I knew that was going on. I just didn't know how to utilize it. And I didn't come across your page, John, until I think probably about a year now, right around a year now. And I said, man, this is this. I had an adjuster talk to me about it a little bit. I'm like, yeah, okay, and at that point I'm selling $5 million. I was like, you know what, I can't even take on anymore, and that's thank God to Monarch and the team, right? But I couldn't even take on anymore. But now when I'm seeing, I'm like, man, now we have a little avenue. And what hits me with you, John, is it all was organic for taking care of the homeowner. And a lot of our clients right now, Reeva clients and their salespeople, they are thinking that they are selling the repair and that's what's best for the homeowner, when in turn, 3-4 months down the line, it continues to leak because they didn't repair it with the correct shingles. And now the homeowner's yelling at them, right? Happened at a Hilton Head location, one of our clients, and now they're yelling at them. And then I go to the sales guy, see, remember when we talked about not selling repairs? It wasn't because we were trying to get more money, Josh, right? We were trying to actually do what's right for the homeowner. Do the right thing. Sometimes that is more money, and you have to be able to explain that to a homeowner. And that's where I think it differentiates from a good salesman and an okay salesman. Yeah. That's what it comes down to.
And I tell you, for the roofing companies that listen to this, have a repair division. It's hard to be the expert at something if you don't even have that as in your portfolio, right? If you really want to go talk soundly about repairs, hey, we can repair this, we can't repair this, right? Have that repair division. I don't care if it's one guy that's drives around and does all the repairs, or two guys in a truck that drives around and do all the repairs. Just have a repair division. It's so much easier to be able to have some grit behind that presentation of whether you can or cannot repair it. If you've got historical repairs, if you do have a good repair division, guys that are trained on any detail from a code standpoint and a manufacturer standpoint on what repairs should look like, and they go out and they perform those repairs when it's reasonable to perform those repairs, because it does make it much better in your situation, whether you're presenting to the homeowner, a realtor, an insurance carrier, whoever it may be at that time, why it can't be repaired, to be able to say, no, we're pretty confident in our analysis here. And again, here's a third-party report, but if you'd like to see a portfolio of some of our repairs, we do believe in repairs. We just are confident this one's not one that should be repaired.
I love it.
Right? So I think that's one of those, just it's a minor detail. If you have a repair division and you do it right, it could be incredibly impactful. It gets you on more roofs. It has a response team to get out to leaks quickly. And you're going to get some repairs. You're going to get high revenue repairs too. You're going to have a consistent pricing model for that. It also helps in that situation with realtors or insurance carriers. Realtors may have a fixed price they can look at for your minimum repairs and set fees because you have a repair division. Insurance carriers, when they're trying to write repairs and you're saying that's not enough for the repair, here's our normal fee schedule, and you constantly charge that in your market, all of those things make a big difference. So just a little tidbit I'd like for roofing owners to hear.
I'm going to turn this on you in your own show.
Yeah.
We do have a repair division, and,
show me your fee schedule.
With them being trained, I mean, that's killer.
Well, one of the things that we did find is that, to your point, sometimes homeowners will say, hey, look, we got a leak, and it's a mystery leak. Sometimes there's mystery leaks. It's not 100.
It's like 8 out of 10 are a mystery leak.
No, really. Like if we could wave a magic wand and say, your repair is done, you owe me $5,000. Like, we would do that, but you have to identify. And sometimes they say, look, I don't want any leaks after this is done. I said, the only way to make sure you're going to have no leaks when this is done is let me replace your whole roof. Yeah. But unlike, you probably don't want to spend that money today. Let's start diagnosing one step at a time. Let's try to find the most obvious, most reasonable place that's probably coming from, but we can work out from there. But one thing that I really think is powerful, what you're talking about here, is professionalism. You go to the doctor. You never want to go to the doctor and have them say, I think maybe we should do this, and just try something off the cuff. You want to get, right?
Maybe's not a good word.
Maybe it's not a good
industries.
word. So, I've been in the home building industry for a while myself, and then the roofing industry here. And I found that, going behind people, doing the remodel work is where you find all the nonsense, right?
Yep.
You know what I'm talking about? You're the guy who says, well, I didn't have any OSB on me, so I put some styrofoam up there. I'm being a little facetious, but it happens. So, to me, what is our value? Our value is being able to diagnose and give a quality diagnosis of how to fix these things. I found what you're doing with Name That Shingle extremely appealing for that reason, because we're going through and putting more of a science to what we're telling the customers, right? It's not like, well, I think that this is probably a Owens Corning shingle from what, you're actually putting the science behind. I'm not quite sure where it is, but you can find this product and or not find this product, and where we go from there. One thing I do want to ask you, all right, so this is important for me. How often do you get stumped,
Oh my gosh. About, let's see, let me count. Since November 16th, when we opened the reporting to anybody to be able to purchase, I've had 4 shingles come through. So it's about every other week.
Yep.
That one, and not every shingle ends up in my review or my quality control. Our team typically handles that. But I've had 4 shingles actually, hit my desk where it's like,
what in the world is this thing?
Well, I can tell you it's not, this, and this. And then we go through an entire quality control process. And in almost every scenario, I had them narrowed down to 2. And every single one of them were ancient enough that the 2 that they were narrowed down to were both discontinued products. So very, very, very rarely is a short answer to your question.
Well, no, and it's, I guess there's a power to that in itself, because if you can't even figure out what it is, there's probably a pretty good chance you're not going to find it somewhere, right?
Yeah. It's up there. And I know that ITEL is out there.
So ITEL is in the industry, ITEL identifies almost any surface. Mm-hmm. So floorings, wood floorings, tiles, ceramics, roof tiles, metals, sidings, aluminum sidings. They do a lot of different identifications. Gotcha. So that is an alternate. Yeah. I would call it a consolidator report. And from the looks of the reports, they seem to be focused on the objective of finding the closest look or the closest match or the best look. We took look at it, what's missed or what's the opportunity. We thought the opportunity in the market was to identify compatibility, mm-hmm. because that's a common word in roofing that we see come up. In fact, there's codes that say the roof assembly shall be constructed of materials that are compatible with each other and to the system and to the structure to which they're being installed. So that's a pretty simple one that if you just took that core question, we should evaluate that. Yeah, we want to evaluate the appearance. We want to evaluate the size. We really should evaluate the compatibility. And guess who has the most say over compatibility of products? The person who makes them. Yeah. Outside of that, we have testing agencies like ASTM that test certain things. But if you took your iPhone and went and used that as a ski for your left foot on a downhill slope and it broke and you brought it in and said, wow, I don't know what happened to it. I was using it for skiing. They would be like, yeah, you're not using it the way you're supposed to. You did not use it the way it's intended to be used. So this isn't on us. This is on you.
Have you watched me skiing or something? Is that what, I'm not, yeah. Last time I went skiing, I had quite a few bumps.
Oh, yeah, I've given that up. I'm pushing 40 and I'm just not doing that again. But almost any maker of a product, if you just misused it or didn't use it properly, they're going to tell you, this is on you, not on us. Well, who's it on when the roofer goes out there and repairs it incorrectly? You think the homeowner is really the person who's responsible to climb their roof, rip a shingle off? They're trusting the roofer to be able to do that. So give them some trust. Go out there, identify the shingle, get a report if you need to get a report to have that third-party independent entity. And it's again, compatibility is kind of our hook. That's our word.
Man, that's amazing. No, I love this. So we have homeowners who are listening to this, and we have roofers, prospective roofers who are listening to this. Let's talk from either one of you gentlemen. You can kind of answer this because I think this is important, right? You know, let's say that you've been out, you've had a storm come into your community, and it's ravaged one side of your roof. Okay, the other side maybe not so much, but you can't find the shingle now, right? What happens? What do you guys do? What do you recommend?
You want to start, Mark? You want to say anything to this before I dive in?
Oh boy, that sounds good. You're like, I got some fire here, you know.
If he's got something to add to it, or thoughts or questions. So
he just looked at his watch. How long do we have?
The boss is calling. So my lovely wife.
I was going to say shout out the wives.
Yep, shout out to wives. Everybody's got to have a great ride or die. That's she's my biggest fan, so I definitely appreciate having a fan like that in my life and a supporter like that in my life.
Awesome.
So, all right, I'm going to phrase this question a couple different ways because I think it's asked incorrectly a lot. Mm-hmm. I see this question where they say, how do I get this one side or how do I get this repair turned into a full roof? It's the wrong question. What is the right question?
Compatibility?
No, what is the right question? What's the right way to phrase that? Should I, right? Not how do I, should I? Because if it's repairable, if it's available, if that product is still made, you're asking the wrong question there. Yeah. Like the mindset in roofers to be able to say, just how do I get this turned into a full roof? Okay, should you get it turned into a full roof? And once you establish like your scenario, all right, one side of the roof's ravaged and they can't find the product. They need to do their due diligence and either learn before they send a sample in or by sending a sample in that product truly is discontinued or has some very clear do not mix instructions from the manufacturers. And that could be from a lot of different reasons. Size changes, plant changes, regional changes, granule changes. There's so many things that can cause do not mix. And then there's just flat out discontinued. They just stop making it. Somebody bought that product line. It's gone. So then we look at, all right, what's the next step? Can we replace an area? Is it two different roof systems? One's high and one's low. Is it an entire roof assembly that's fully integrated? That then falls back on the construction expert. NTS simply identifies, is that shingle available and is it compatible? And if it's not compatible, again, layer in the documents to be able to provide information on the compatibility of that product, turn it over, and then work with your local building departments, work with your homeowner, explain the necessity for $15,000, not $1,500, and why that's actually relevant. The phrase that kind of goes around is shingles to slopes, slopes to systems. We shouldn't just look at it like, oh, it's a full roof. It's got to be a full roof. It's got a full. If you're not going to do your due diligence and fully evaluate the system as a whole and realize like, okay, can I repair an area? No. Can I repair a slope? No. Then I have to worry about the whole assembly. That's the thought process that I personally like to go through because then I'm always above reproach because I've analyzed it from least amount required up. Because if I was a homeowner from my own cost standpoint, right? Kind of
it's fair,
right? What's the minimal amount necessary, right? Necessary, not just the minimal amount to like do it wrong. The minimal amount necessary to do this right. funny you mentioned dog training because they operate on a rule called the rule of minimal force. So the minimal amount of force needed to accomplish that particular behavior.
Wow. Look how he just full circled, man. This guy right here.
That's a callback.
You're a podcast pro.
Not the comedian one, but that's still a callback.
And it always comes back to the homeowner. And that's why I love your thinking, because it always comes back to what's right for the homeowner. And if you can do it and it's okay. Now color, things come up with color, older shingle. So the shingle is still available,
right?
Yet the color is going to mismatch. What would you advise? And I always, when it came to that, I haven't run too much into that, Rob. So the question you asked, I haven't run too much into that because we did mostly hail in the last 4 years that I've sold. So I haven't run too much of that. But when it's not matching the color of a shingle that is still being made, where do you fall on that? Is that a homeowner decision? You feel like that should be a homeowner decision? Or
I think that
value?
it 100% starts with the homeowner's decision, but you got to give them the right information.
Yeah.
If you're going to perform a repair, I think it's okay to bring the samples out for the homeowners and let them understand what's that going to look like on my roof.
Yeah.
Because match can be a tricky word. Just at its core, the shingles start aging, changing, getting sun faded, algae, anything like that from the time they hit the roof. So 10, 15-year-old roof assemblies with brand new shingles mixed in them aren't going to look great. What does that equal? For a homeowner, they need to realize what they're okay with, what they're willing to accept, because once it involves, let's go back to a realtor transaction. Someone may not want that unsightly repair on the front of their house. They may either want to negotiate the full roof or realize like it's unreasonable to ask for the full roof. So if we don't want repairs, we're going to have to pay for a full roof when we buy the house. Same for insurance carriers. There are states that kind of have that pre-implemented where they require some uniform appearance to be maintained. Mm-hmm. And I'm not an attorney, I'm not a public adjuster, so I'm not going to dive into those things. But where the states that actually enforce that exist, and even municipalities, there's municipalities in states that don't have matching that say, hey, at 25%, you got to replace the whole roof.
Right.
So matching could have some local requirements. It could have some state requirements. And if none of those exist, then you have to have a good heart-to-heart with your homeowner and make sure, I recommend contractors make sure that their homeowner signs off on that repair and what that's going to look like. Show them photos, make the extra trip. It's why a repair shouldn't be $150. You've got to buy a bundle, you bring them samples, you got to confirm they're okay with it. They've got to sign off on that. I like that practice because then you don't go put on a high dollar repair and they call you back and say, hey, this is not what I expected. Mm-hmm. Well, we sent you pictures. We went through a whole photo file. We put samples up there. We set them on the roof and took photos to show you what it's going to look like in that area. Because what does that happen? What's the roof add to the value of the home? If you go to sell it in the first year, it's like 68% of the roof value is added to the home. Well, that's because it's almost 40% of your curb appeal for most homes.
Oh, for sure.
Got to be really cautious what you're going to do to a homeowner's house before you just make these unsightly repairs and they didn't sign off on it. So I just caution people, educate your homeowner, make sure they're okay with it because they're the ones that have to live with it.
So I got a tip for rookie roofers. Rookie roofers in the business, never pick a homeowner's color for them. That's like, it feels like that mistake has happened too much.
New construct or full re-roof or repairs, never pick
either one. Yeah, homeowner goes, you just pick one that looks good. It's like, all right, that works out sometimes, and the other times it turns into, you're in trouble when they go, that's not what I expected. They're like, oh boy, here we go.
It looks different on the ground than it does on a roof.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah,
and make sure that both decision makers have reviewed the color before you put it on, and
that's fair.
The other decision maker in the house calls you and says, this is not what I wanted. And I'm like, we never had the conversation, you and me. I thought you guys decided this together. So I caution you, you may want to make sure you know who's deciding on that color, because I have made that mistake before in my career. And I don't know, it's like no, you don't want to deal with that challenge.
Yeah,
avoid that one.
Learn the phrase, I am no interior designer. That is my phrase. I actually use this. It has served me well. That's my tips. Hey, what do you think about, and I'm just going to segue over to a couple of the roofing things real quick. What do you think about the future of solar? Is your company doing anything with that? It's obviously a factor now.
So we are adding solar. I think it's necessary. I think that it's like anything, it's changing, it's growing. There's improvements to be made. We see the costs of energy rising and energy bills rising. I know what my energy bill was this past month versus a year ago was significantly higher. So there's some organic things going on that are increasing the demand for that. And there's some great incentives for it right now too. So I just caution homeowners, if they're looking at solar, to really evaluate what's your roof assembly like first if you're putting the panels on the roof? Last thing you want to do is put on a costly endeavor and then find out you have to replace the roof 5 years later. Yeah. So, but it is becoming more, I live in Indiana, and solar is becoming more relevant up there, and we're not even in a really sun-baked state. So we're seeing it pop up. So we are adding it to our business portfolio because we are seeing demand, and I think that's only going to increase.
That's really cool. Have you seen this new Gaf Solar Shingle? It's actually the same profile as basically your regular shingles, man. That's next level. Yeah.
I think that's the direction it's going to go, just because solar panels on a roof are intrusive, for lack of a better word, and they're obviously aesthetically not pleasing compared to a lot of things. And so the shingle shaped solar panels, as long as that can become more and more efficient to where it can collect enough light, collect enough energy, collect enough heat to put everything together, then I think that's the much better direction to go.
Rob was general manager for Solar too, Monarch, before he took manager. So he's got a little solar background. He's not disclosing.
I was roping doping you a little bit.
He was roping. I was just waiting for you to.
I know about as much as the hot chocolate left in my Dunkin cup here.
Hey man, you're knocking it out, dude. Like your marshmallows are getting very stuck.
I got a sweet tooth too. So.
Hey, I do have a serious question. So Mark Godaire in his last year doing sales full time. Mark Godaire, this guy over here. So this guy did $5 million in sales. Is it true that with Name That Shingle, he would have done $10 million in sales in that life? Is it true? I just need to know.
He would have done about 6.2.
6.2. Is that the average? Like,
just guessing in this market, he would add another 20%.
There is a lot of elk. There is a lot of old elk, a lot of old GF in here, and that's the one. Actually, in all seriousness, that's the one I always remember. So when I pop onto your Name That Shingle page, anytime I see that elk, I'm like, my gosh, there's a ton of that in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Like I instantly screenshot it and send to our sales guys. Like instantly I say, guys, you see this? And it's like that. It's always that faded black charcoal elk. Was it Prestige? Back then, it was before my
elk Prestige.
Yeah,
yep, that was the most common one in this area.
And now that I see them on your page, I'm like, man, this is all over Myrtle Beach. So this is why, again, we're so excited for you to be here and to give the knowledge to people where I think it can be, man, if it gives another 4 to 5 sales to somebody each year, it's something that needs to be taken a full advantage of, and it's really important in my opinion.
We won't say it on this podcast, but yeah, you guys are within hours of what is probably the largest discontinued shingle per capita location in the country, in my opinion, based on my travels. So we just won't divulge it on the podcast.
Wow, man. Guess that.
For the right bag of cash.
Viewers, call in and place your prediction on what is the hottest discontinued.
Now taking bidders.
He's saving that for 4 o'clock.
Teaser. That's a teaser in the business. Hey, I do have one more thing, and this is for either of you fellas. It's important to me when people come on this show. I always want to talk about people who have had success in their career. I picture a college student out there. We've all been to college. You know what it was like when you're graduating. You're trying to figure out what you're going to do next in life. So it's important to get some perspective. I'd love to hear from either one of you. Do you have a inspiration in life? It could be a person or just something that has inspired you to be a better person or whatever that was for you.
I'm going to start on this one because I'm a big personal development guy. Okay, big personal development is something that I heard at the last conference, and I've heard it before, but it rang a bell. And it's such an easy answer to say your kid, right? My 4-year-old, of course, is it's my life, right?
Cutest kid ever, by the way. Super cute. Yeah.
It's so easy to say your parents. It's so easy. I heard something that was like, and me and Martin were sitting in the seat when I heard this, and I stayed in my seat. It's the the future me. Mm-hmm. Right? It's the future me that's going to push me now, and that has changed not changed my mindset, but has helped me kind of figure out on where I want to go with my goals and my future. So that's going to be the person that I'm going to make sure that makes my son proud. Right? It all falls out to him, but it's going to be my future self.
That's awesome, man. I love that answer.
So
if you say your future self, man, I'm turning off the mic.
Mine's a little bit different. So my dad was a GM for construction companies, and at one point, one of the companies he worked with, let's just say they built show homes. That's the only way I could define them. Just massive conglomerate, more square footage than 5 homes put together type of deal. And he was working on one of them, and someone walked up to him. They were doing final punch out, I think it was, or nearing the end of it, last 30 days. Most of the finishing touches, everything's done. And someone came up to him and said, "Man, this home's going to look really good on your resume." And my dad, like didn't care if he didn't have his job tomorrow based on this comment, looked at him and said, "My family's my resume and my kids' successes." And I just thought, boy, if that didn't hit home, and of course it didn't, that really didn't settle in that moment. When you're a teenager, that doesn't, sink right then. It's settled much later in life. So I hope that my kids look up to me and see that in me. Like that they see that someone that driven for their family, that they see someone that driven to succeed and to create succession for their family. Because my dad didn't want to say, "I don't care about this house," but what he said was, "I would care about the significance of all of my family." And so when I replay that moment in the short sentences he make, and I've digested that time and time and time and time again, I look at that and think, what am I creating for my family? How am I helping that be the next succession and significance for them to continue to grow, to have opportunities, to be successful, however they define success, right? Because I don't want to define success for my children or my family. Mm-hmm. But I get up every day, and I tell you right now, the travel life is hard. It's like the most difficult thing I've done in my life is be away from my wife and my children this consistently. It is brutal. And when I have those tough moments, I replay that conversation with my dad, and I think this is a brief moment in time. I maximize the time I can have with my wife and my children when I am home, but I am creating something significant and some succession for my family, because that to me is what I'm going to leave behind is what I want them to follow.
That's super cool, man. I love that. My family is my resume. I think that's an amazing thing. I'll kind of share one little thing, and I'll say, sometimes people ask me about leadership styles, and I'm a football fan. I don't know about, I know, Mark, you are, but I talk about what is your style of management. So I'm going to shift over to a different thing, and I'll, and if you guys want to comment on this, that's great. If not, I'm going to kind of wrap with this thought. But you got to decide what kind of manager you're going to be in life, right? What kind of a person you're going to be in life. And so I use 4 coaches in the NFL, and these are ones that have always kind of spoken to me, right? So you have the guy who is the passion guy. He's like the rah-rah guy. I think Pete Carroll. You know what I'm saying? If you picture the personality type, Pete Carroll, he's a rah-rah guy. He gets the guys fired up. He gets the emotion up. That's a management style. Then you got the Bill Parcells style. Remember Bill Parcells? Old school, he ruled with fear a little bit, right? He's going to make you, oh my God, don't be late. Bill, he's gonna have our butts on this one, and it was effective, right? And then you had with Joe Gibbs, Washington. Here's a guy who ruled with love. It was like his family. He took them all under his wing. And then you have a guy like Bill Parcells, and you rule with science and logic, right? And this is the way I like to define it.
You mean Belichick?
Oh, I'm sorry, Bill Belichick. No,
you had the wrong Bill
thank
there.
you for the correction. Yeah, Bill Belichick. He ruled with science and logic, and you kind of more of a even tone kind of a way. But they're all effective, right? If you really believe in what you do and you are who you are, the authentic version of you, you can win by being the best version of you. So I kind of share that with you because
I love it.
I think that sometimes people are trying to emulate people so hard, and I'm like, just be the best version of you. And you can see it in those 4 types, but there are 4 basic types that you'll see in everything, almost mirrors the DISC assessment if you think about it. So.
I love it, man.
All right,
it's a great
cool.
way to wrap. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. John Cenac, Equity Builders Roofing. You've been amazing today. Thank you for telling us about Name That Shingle. Definitely big time shout out on that. Mark Godaire, Reeva Impact, man, everything you're doing, beautiful, inspiring every day. And I'm going to sign off with that one, guys. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us.
All right, Rob Clemons has been Crowning Connections. We'll see you guys next time.